Ever since we saw the behind the scenes trailer 2 months ago, the fandom has been in a frenzy. Speculation, theories, everything was put into overdrive. I'm so sorry. As we saw the new command center, interviews with returning Rangers, a battle between the Rangers and Putties, and the return of Rita. People wondered if this was a flashback scene for two reasons. One was that because Rita had turned good at the end of In Space when Zordon's tube was shattered, and two, Rita became the Mystic Mother in Mystic Force. The big one that people locked onto was the presence of a Green Ranger. This got people believing this was either a flashback or that someone new was supporting the powers. This was all due to JDF stepping down from Power Rangers last summer and later passing away in November. People believed it was Adam, as he was confirmed to be returning. People were going around stating it as fact based solely on Adam being the Green Zeo and Green Turbo Ranger. They justified this by stating he was the closest to Tommy and his second in command during that time, so he should be given the powers. Another idea was that it could be JJ, Tommy's son, if it was set in the present day. Others were suggesting it being Jenna, JDF's real-life daughter, as she stated she wanted to continue his legacy by being a Green Ranger. But if you look at the picture, it's clearly not her. Many others, myself included, maintained it was Tommy, just not Jason David Frank. People wondered how that would be possible, which shows their lack of imagination and memory, as Power Rangers did that exact thing dating all the way back into Season 2 when Jason, Zach, and Trini left. We were led to believe they were still around, but we didn't actually see their faces. That's what they'll do here, and that is also the reason I believe Jason and Kimberly are also in this despite their actors not being involved. I'll explain all of this in the video along with my own theories and things that need to be pointed out. I'm going to try and piece together what we saw in the trailer and explain where it falls into the story. So the trailer starts with a possible cold open. First we see Billy is alone, morphed, and fighting putties. We saw some of these scenes in the behind the scenes trailer, and a picture of a bruised and battered Billy, great alliteration on my part, holding his morpher. The other Rangers show up to help. We saw a scene of them turning around, and if you look closely enough through the arm of the cameraman, you can see Billy's boot. Rita says she found a new body after many years, so that suggests the evil essence was purged from her body and had been in limbo all of this time, almost like Starscream's ghost from Transformers. Rita fires an energy ball at Billy, and it appears she's specifically targeting Billy. Maybe it's just a coincidence or it has something to do with what we see at the end of the trailer. Trini steps in to take the brunt of the attack, and we can briefly see Billy shielding himself from the attack. The Rangers look over the cliff as we assume Trini went over. Billy and Zach are the only two that take off their helmets. This is why I think the other three are Jason, Tommy, and Kimberly. I'd guess the title card would come in here if the fight was a cold open. Billy and Zach and Min are in the cemetery, and Rita attacks again. When Billy and Zach are on the ground, we can see the cemetery behind them. When we finally see Min in the trailer, she's angry, wanting revenge. This is likely her house, or it could be a funeral garden, as it looks pretty wealthy. She's wearing the same clothes as in the pictures we saw before, and they're not dressed for a funeral, so I guess they're visiting the grave, so perhaps a little bit of time has passed between the fight at the beginning and now, so maybe a month or so. Charlie Kirsch, who plays Min, posted photos of her and Zach hiding behind the rad bug. This suggests the fight is going on at the cemetery, and this may be the moment Min finds out her mother was a ranger, because she looks like she just got some truth dropped on her. Billy and Zach try to keep her out of it, and then we see the command center is in a new spot with a new design, complete with Prime Star. If you know what that is, you're old. There's a triangle logo, which could be an early design that leads to Power Rangers Hyperforce. Billy explains that Rita is using a time portal. He's on the moon base at this point as he's looking at the time portal. Zach and possibly Rocky look on at the activated time portal, showing the space dumpster that trapped Rita and her crew for 10,000 years. Zach and Billy are helmetless and look back at Rita, who is taunting them. I don't think the dialogue is from this scene. It could be her revealing the plan to the Rangers at the cemetery, as we see her and the device there, or she's talking to herself at the moon base as a means to let the audience in on what's happening. She might even be talking to the Rangers she trapped in the case attached to the device. It should be noted the other three are not shown. Before she teleports away, we see the red, pink, and green rangers trapped in the case. It's not clear when this occurs. It could happen when she's taunting Zack and Billy. It might be at the cemetery. Or it happened before the cemetery fight, and she's just bragging at this point. Min, still looking righteously pissed off, appears to be looking at a picture of Trini. This may be her breaking point, and she goes and gets involved. Zack and Billy and Alpha are at the command center coming up with a plan. Considering the urgency on how they turn around and approach the console, something is going down. This is when Kat and Rocky teleport in. Alpha, calling for all Rangers to battle stations, is a separate scene as he's alone. Several locations come online, suggesting that those Ranger teams are ready. Specifically, the Grid Battle Force Rangers in Coral Harbor, the Dino Thunder Rangers in Reefside, and the Space Rangers on the Astro Megaship. We don't see the Wild Force Rangers in Turtle Cove or the Lost Galaxy Rangers on Terra Venture go green, so we can assume they do, but maybe one goes red as it's being attacked. We do see multiple Rangers in the case as figures when the Rangers infiltrate the moon base. We can hear urgency in Alpha's voice as he's initiating the Bandora protocol. Nice touch. That was Rita's Sentai counterpart's name in Zyuranger. The symbol on the screen is the same design as the top of Rita's staff. Rocky and Kat teleport in. Kat looks like she did it herself as her hand is on a communicator. Rocky, on the other hand, looks like he was pulled from work. This is probably a comedic scene as he's half dressed in his firefighting gear, likely coming from a run. I doubt he's going on a run since he's holding takeout and that doesn't really say emergency. He also has a look on his face like, ugh, not this again. Kat and Rocky take their coins, explaining why Kat's using the pterodactyl coin and not the crane coin that Kimberly gave her, which was also turned to dust in season 3. Zack epically says it's morphin' time, and the Rangers teleport into battle. We are introduced to robot versions of Minotaur and Snizzard in a junkyard. I wonder why these two were picked over other monsters. Not that I have an issue with them. I'm just curious why these two specifically, when there were more iconic monsters such as King Sphinx. Adam and Aisha appear on the screen in their SPA uniforms. I think they're only going to play a supporting role rather than be active Rangers. The Rangers fight off some putties while protecting civilians. Rita is in her moon base. Minotaur and Snizzard are behind her. Her telescope is also there. This could be where she reveals her plans of killing the Rangers before they become Rangers. Zack and Rocky teleport into Ernie's juice bar to fight some putties. Zack is clearly pissed. They had the audacity to even enter this place. We see quick shots of the juice bar fight, the Angel Grove fight, the opening fight with an unmorphed Billy, Kat looking at something on the moon base, and Rocky saving someone. This may be nothing, as it could just be Rocky saving a random civilian. Or, what if it was someone important from the past? I heard an idea that it might be one of the Rangers. We don't know how far back in time they go. We just know Rita planned to kill them before they became Rangers, so it might be far enough back to when they were kids. If that is the case, then it would be another reference to Bandora, as she hated kids and always targeted them in Zyuranger. Then we see the Zords running into battle. This can mean they used the Zords in the present, and that the Zords were revived, or they were using the Zords in the past. The Megazord charges up for its finishing move. This could also be on the moon, as we see the night sky, or space, behind it. We see Zack and Min at the command center. This is possibly before or after she officially becomes a Ranger, and before maybe the final battle. She might be nervous, and Zack is just trying to ease her. People have wondered if she is also Zack's daughter. I'd be fine with that, as there is evidence of Zack and Trini being a possible thing in several different episodes. But I don't want her father to be Richie, as he just sucks. However, Charlie Kirsch has posted pictures calling him Uncle Zack. One last thing to notice is the screen says Cranston Technologies on it. This means Billy helped build the command center. I'm curious how this will all end. If Min is the new Yellow Ranger, then what will happen to the other aging Rangers? Will this be similar to the Die Ranger ending, and the offspring of the Rangers inherit the powers? I mean, the Rangers are aging, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched for the next generation to take on the Mighty Morphin powers. Earlier I mentioned all of the original characters will appear, but we'll only see the faces of two of them. Back in Season 2, Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Thuy Trang left the show. While morphed, their dialogue was recorded by other actors who failed at mimicking their voices. This started all the way back in Missing Green. The characters were written out of the show entirely 14 episodes later. They began appearing less and less until the Power Transfer two-parter, where they stepped down as Rangers and their powers were copied to their replacements. Yes, I said copied and not transferred, because the original three were still morphed. And yes, I know that this was to hide the fact that the actors weren't really there, but that's the real-world reason. The in-universe reason was never given, and it would explain why Jason had his powers in Forever Red. This isn't even isolated to just them. David Yost did something similar in Zeo, so the writers conjured up an idea that somehow made sense, connecting it to something from the previous season. Jason David Frank expressed his desire to leave the show during Turbo, but was willing to wait until he could be written out properly. That's why he doesn't show up all that often in the first half of the season, unless he's morphed. Out of the original 6, Amy Jo Johnson didn't have to do any of that when she said she wanted to leave, and was given a proper send-off. For the 30th anniversary, out of the original 6, only Walter Jones and David Yost are returning. Thuy Trang died in 2001. Jason David Frank had retired from Power Rangers and then later died in 2022. Austin St. John is dealing with legal issues and can't leave the States, and Amy Jo Johnson wanted to appear but could not for various reasons. Despite that, their characters will still appear, but we won't see their faces. If they have any lines, then it'll be old ADR. Their absence is actually part of the plot, as 3 of them are captured, and the daughter of the 4th is coming into play. I should clarify that the daughter is played by Charlie Kirsch, who isn't related to Thuy Trang at all. The only thing they have in common is that they're both Vietnamese. For some reason, people had a hard time understanding Kirsch is playing Trang's daughter and isn't her real-life daughter. Plus, Kirsch is only 16 and was born after Trang had died. One other thing I noticed during one of my many rewatches was Rita's face. It looks brand new at the beginning, and then later the lower half of it has been ripped off. A couple of things I wonder about is how long they'll stay in the past and what will they show. Rocky and Zach are in the juice bar, so I wonder if it's only them who will go into the past, either willingly or even unwillingly. Will a younger Ernie show up, or will the younger Rangers appear? Could this special episode branch off and create a new Mighty Morphin series with original stuff that's no longer relying on the Sentai? Will their interference in the past have any consequences in the future? Will it be like Shattered Grid from the comics and create its own continuity? They could actually do a lot with that if they play their cards right. This airs on April 19th, so I'm curious how accurate I was. It's possible I was wrong on all of it, but I guess that's why they call me the Taiyorinai sensei.